Hello and welcome. Before I get started, obviously, as you can see, the background still looks the same, and it's week 10. There's been some events going around in my life that has made some stuff difficult. So there's been some events in my life that's made some stuff difficult. So I've tested out the screen a little bit, but it's not to exactly what I like it to. So instead of trying to rush it in, I might just save it for a little bit. So hopefully within the next, hopefully it shouldn't take another 2-3 weeks to do, but I'm assuming hopefully at worst maybe week 12 again, but we'll have to see. Just because, yeah, I didn't expect for stuff to take this long, but it's kind of lingering a little bit longer than it should. So hopefully, yeah, within 2 weeks I'll be able to try the new background. For my second point, I just want to real quick before I get into the NFL games for this week, I just want to go a quick shout out to the boys. They just won. SXU just won conference again. I think it's 5 in the last 6 years, and now they beat St. Francis for the 24th time out of 25 meetings. So that's awesome for the boys. Glad to watch them do so well this season. Hopefully they kill it in playoffs. Now back to the NFL and everything else. The reason you're seeing that the Commanders and Eagles game hasn't been played is, yeah, this is definitely a day early as well. Like I said, going back a little bit to all the crazy stuff that's going on, just the way things work out, today is the day that I have the free time to do it, so I'm going to record all this early. If you want, for all the Eagles fans and Commanders fans, if you want to hear how your team did, I'll probably be going over that game more during my picks when I do pick them later in the week. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So starting off, the Panthers and Falcons, this was a pouring down rain affair, and the Panthers pretty much dominated the game. Pretty much the whole game. The Falcons, honestly, watching that game, it felt like the Falcons probably had, no chance to win. The score is a little bit deceiving because, even in the rain, you thought the Falcons would be able to run all over the Panthers, but it's kind of vice versa. The Panthers kind of ran all over the Falcons, and then, yeah, Panthers just, I don't know, as a fan, if you're a fan of the Panthers, I don't know if you really want that win, because, yes, while wins are nice, their season's probably over, so. Hey, now that they won, they're only, I think, 2 games back from the Bucs for the division. So, hey, anything's possible, I guess. But, yeah, it's a very impressive win for the Rams. Dante Foreman looked awesome during the game, and it was just a great game overall for the Panthers. When it comes to the game in Munich, Bucks were up 14-0 at half, and then the game finished at 16-21. The Seahawks basically shot themselves in the foot at almost any possible point they could. When they had a chance to win the game later on. In the beginning, they basically did absolutely nothing on offense. This Bucks team looks like they did the whole rest of the year. Last year when they looked dominant, and then they just looked like a completely different team this Sunday. But the play of the game, and probably the play of the day that almost blew it for the Bucs, was that they tried to. So it was very interesting. There was this. It was like a wildcat. It was like a wildcat. It was a wildcat formation. Brady was out wide, and it was very clear, honestly, that Leonard Fournette was going to run the first one. It felt like, because everyone's looking out. There's no way to throw it to Brady, and yeah, Leonard Fournette runs, he gets 3 or 4 yards. But then, so personally, me sitting at home man, that was actually kind of a good play. They should have thrown it to Brady. He was wide open. Maybe they'll come to that later in the season. Keyword is season. I don't even think it was 3 or 4 plays later they run the same play. Brady slips. It becomes an interception, and that basically gave the Seahawks all their momentum. And they almost won the game, but they ended up coming up just a little bit short. Geno, I think, had a fumble. I want to say it was either in the second quarter or the third quarter when. Actually, I think it was that drive exactly. After they got the interception, they bring it down the field. They have a chance to get points. Then Geno just fumbles the ball, and yeah, basically the Bucs hang on to survive. But what was just so interesting about that play is, honestly, it wasn't that bad of a play idea. If they ran the only thing is, if they ran the Wildcat first, they should have thrown it with the first one, because if you look back after that first one, nobody went towards Brady, and they probably. I might have maybe missed something with the back end that I didn't see, a safety maybe looming over or something. But I seriously, if they would have thrown that first one, I think it could have been. Obviously Brady's 45 and kind of slow. I don't know if it would have been a touchdown, but they could have got a pretty big gain. there was nobody close to him from what I remember and saw. But yeah, no, sure enough, they don't throw it the first time, they throw it the second time, and it's kind of a funny moment, because at least they won. If they would have lost, that would have been the reason they probably lost the game, and it would have been a lot worse. But. Hey, because they didn't. It's just gonna be a funny thing to remember for them for the rest of the season. For the Titans Broncos game, nothing really happened. Tannehill had, I think, 2 deep passes to Westbrook Akine, I think is who it was, and he That's basically like where all their points came from. Denver did a pretty good job of shutting down Derrick Henry, which you kind of expected coming in. Because even while the Denver offense is like really, really bad, that defense is legit. I mean, I think they gave up 2 touchdowns this game. I mean, they don't give up very many touchdowns overall. I mean, they might, maybe to like some of the better teams, they might give up like 2 or 3 in the game. Like, I just see the Titans are like one of the better teams in the AFC record-wise. They only gave up 2. So, I mean, the defense continued to play solid. Jerry Jeudy got hurt, so it's going to be interesting to see what's up with him. I think they said it was thankfully, like, not season-ending injury, so hopefully he'll be able to come back. But for now, yeah, the Broncos' offense was already thin. They get a little bit thinner, and, I mean, just this disastrous year just continues for them. Russell Wilson had a moment here and there where he had some deep balls that looked pretty good, but overall, I mean, yeah, this Broncos offense still just needs the help. When it comes to the Dolphins-Browns, I mean, Tua looks awesome. The Dolphins look like a wagon. Them adding Jeff Wilson was probably one of the better moves of the trade deadline. Like, while Jeff Wilson might not be the biggest name, I mean, just his presence with the Dolphins, knowing the system from Mike McDaniels, and just being able to for the system being very similar to Kyle Shanahan, one with Mike down in the Dolphins. I mean, yeah, Jeff Wilson fits in like almost perfectly. Him and Raheem Mostert going back and forth. They look pretty good on the ground. I mean, this Dolphins team just absolutely beat down this Browns team. I mean, the Browns had flashes here and there. I mean, overall, this Dolphins team is just like they have a chance. This looks like a true contender team. I mean, Tyreek Hill is just amazing. He had a touchdown on the day. I think who else? I mean, there was a really cool touchdown by Sheffield. Is it Sherfield or Sheffield? I forget which one it is, but I mean, he toe tapped it. Tua had the ball in the perfect spot. I mean, this Dolphins team with Tua is undefeated still, and it's a really, really good team. They're really fun to watch. I mean, I ended up getting lucky, and I got to pick up Tua on my fantasy waivers, and I mean, it's just now that I get to basically be like, it's almost being forced to watch like Dolphins game if I want to watch my quarterback. I mean, it's just a really fun game. It's just a really fun team to watch. I mean, they just score a lot of points, and adding Bradley Chubb is going to be awesome for their defense as he gets more comfortable. And yeah, I just mean this Dolphins team has a chance to really contend with some of the other stuff that's happened today. The Detroit Lions, they beat the Bears. I mean, this is one of those games where I think it was basically a bunch of bad calls went towards the Bears. I mean, overall, if you look across Sunday, refs missed a lot of calls this week. I mean, usually they've been pretty good so far this season, but there was a lot of ones that are very memorable that they missed calls. Apparently for the Bears game, there was like a hands to the face that they missed. And then I guess like from the Bears fans I was talking to, like the pick six shouldn't have happened if calls were right. But overall, I mean, I just watched it. Like, I didn't watch that game too much, but I was like kind of just glancing here and there. I mean, the Bears looked like they were dominating. Justin Fields, other than that pick six, I mean, he had a day. He looks awesome. I mean, I think they're slowly unlocking his ability to be good in the NFL, and he looks really, really good. He had a touchdown run where he just almost ran somebody over. He just dove it. He just tucked his head down and just went straight into the end zone. I mean, the Bears are kind of fun to watch right now with Justin Fields just because he's been playing so well. But somehow the Lions find a way to win. They just lingered around for long enough to where Jamal Williams punched it in late to give them the lead, and the Bears just couldn't do anything to come back. Which, I mean, it's just not much to talk about in that game because those two teams seem like teams for next year. I don't know about the Lions, but the Bears for sure seem like a team for next year. The big thing for the Bears is going to be closing games. There's this and the Commanders game. They both had chances to win. They probably should have won the game, and then they just come up short. So it was a really good win for the Lions, and hopefully for Bears. I mean, they're seeing some of the promise they can have with Justin Fields. They just need to start putting it all together. When it comes to the Steelers and Saints, I mean, TJ, not much to really talk about in this game. I mean, these are both two teams that aren't doing too much. Pittsburgh, I mean, Kenny Pickett had an all right day. George Pickens had a rushing touchdown in this game that was pretty cool to see. I mean, because the Steelers are kind of confusing. I mean, they have potential, but I mean, it's really hard to tell just because like with TJ Watt back, this looked like a completely different defense. I mean, they did lose Minka Fitzpatrick, but they still looked really, really good. I mean, I don't know if it's the Saints were just bad or what, but I mean, this was a really, really confusing game because this is basically like a toss-up game, and the Steelers end up winning it, which is really awesome for them at home. And when it comes to Saints, I mean, they're probably going to be quarterback questions now. As much as they've been sticking with Andy Dalton and not much has been happening anymore, so it's going to be interesting to see if like Jameis comes back in. or what they do at quarterback, just because, basically both those teams are looking like teams this seasons are probably in jeopardy, and at least the Steelers have a chance to cling to a little bit more life after this win. When it comes to, I'll get to that game in a second. When it comes to the Giants and Texans, I mean, Saquon had a day, put 100 on the ground. He continues to look really good in his campaign back from injury. For the Texans, I mean, they just shot themselves in the foot. It felt like, I just remember watching the majority of the game, it felt like they had 5 or 6 red zone opportunities in the second half, and they just did like nothing with them, basically. And the Giants are just really, really good. Daniel Jones had a nice pass to Slayton where he took it for a big long gain for a touchdown, and this Giants team just continues to win, and it's really awesome for the NFC East because now basically almost every game in the NFC East matters. When it was like last year, all the teams were kind of bad, so it's like they mattered, but it was just like, whoever wins, it's whatever, because it's going to be one of the bad teams getting the playoffs. This year, I mean, between the Cowboys, which I'll get to in a minute, the Giants and Eagles, I mean, there's a chance where that division could come up to any one of those three, especially if the Eagles falter a little bit. So it was just a great win by the Giants. I mean, like I said, Saquon continues to just look awesome since being back, and I mean, just Dayball is just that dude. I mean, he's completely changed the culture around for the Giants. They're winning and everything, and it's just going to be fun to see how that team continues to go on. Now, what was the 1 o'clock game of the day? I mean, wow, what a game. I mean, it was just a really awesome game. I mean, there was a ref miss call in this game. There was a goal line stand. Then there was a goal line another reverse goal line stand with the screw up and fumble. I mean, it was just, there was so much to get out of this game. The biggest issue before I get into the game itself I had was like Josh Allen. I mean, this dude, all they talked about is how they've come out of practice because of his elbow, because of his elbow, this and that. And it just as a Colts fan who watched Andrew Luck be hurt for years and years and years, it's just like, it was like I almost felt like I was grimacing watching him play that game. I mean, there's times where, yes, he's competitive and all that, but I mean, he could seriously slide, be a yard short for the first down, and be like 3rd and 1, whatever, and he's just putting his shoulder down, trying to run people over. He was throwing his elbow into people, and I mean, there's even a play where he hurt himself where on an interception he's trying to punch the ball out with that bad elbow and he ends up landing on it or something, and it's just, you hate to see it. Like, I love to see the competitiveness in him because, I mean, I see very similarness with like Andrew Luck in that aspect where it's like Andrew Luck, it was like he was going to fight for every single yard on every single play, and like he was not going down, he was not protecting himself as he should have. And I mean, no, I'm not hating on him or anything. I mean, he was just playing football, but when you have an injury like this, I mean, with how important Josh Allen is to that team, he just got to take a little bit better care of himself, I would think. Because as a fan of football, I mean, it was kind of scary to watch. Like, I just felt like I was grimacing anytime he's like landing on it when he's doing extra stuff he didn't need to do. But going in the game itself, I mean, like the Bills, there's just so much to talk about in this game. I mean, Dalvin Cook busted open an 81-yard touchdown. The Bills looked like they were dominant early. I think it was like 17-7. It was like 24-14. And then it was like 27. And then it was like 27-20, I think maybe. And it was just, this was the Justin Jefferson game because, my Lord, I mean, he absolutely went off. He had like 170 yards, I think. He had like 10 catches for 170 or 190 yards. I think he had a touchdown even as well. I mean, he just had an amazing, amazing game. Stephon Diggs on the other side for the Bills had a really good game as well. But I just mean, this was a really awesome back and forth. It just felt like anytime there's a big play to be needed and you went to that game, you were going to see Justin Jefferson do something. I mean, there was a catch where he completely took it from the DB with like one hand. And I thought it was a complete interception. I was getting ready to cheer for the Bills and be like, oh, what a play. But then he pulls it away. It's like, wait, did he actually catch that? And like the Vikings basically like marched down the field, and the ending of this game was crazy. The Vikings are marching down the field. Justin Jefferson's making plays. It comes down to a 4th and goals. The Bills get the stop, and so I think it's 24 to. Wait, no. I don't remember what the score is exactly at this point, but I want to say it's like 24-20. It's something along the lines of like around 24-20 for like the Bills' favor. But the Bills are on the 1 yard line. They just got to get a snap, get some few yards, have some breathing room, and they'll basically win the game. Like I think it's like seriously, there's like 50 seconds left. Like they're gonna win the game if they can just get this first down, or not even like I don't even think they need the first down. I think if they could just get off this 1 yard line, get out of their end zone, like they have a chance to knee it down and win. And Josh Allen fumbles the snap. The Vikings fall on the ball for a touchdown. Bills get the ball back and march all the way down the field. I mean, Gabe Davis clearly dropped this ball. I mean, when I was watching live, I thought he caught it. I was like celebrating. I'm like, wow, the Bills are actually gonna have a chance to bring this into overtime and everything. And then they showed the replay. Honestly, still thought he caught it. The Bills ended up kicking to go to overtime. Then, while in overtime, they show the replay again. It's like, oh, the refs definitely missed that one bad. But the football gods made sure the Vikings had a chance to still win that game. The Vikings get the ball to start. They drive all the way down the field, kick a field goal. Bills get the ball back, drive all the way down the field, and then Josh Allen has a bad interception. I mean, like Pat Peterson, basically the way Pat Pete made it sound is he read Josh Allen basically almost like a book. Said they watched this all in film, knew this was going to happen, and he made an awesome play in the red zone. Josh Allen has thrown, I think, like 4 red zone interceptions now, and he's thrown like 10 this season. He leads the league. I mean, it's just a wild year for the Bills. I just like this Bills team went from being like an absolute juggernaut to now like, oh wow, they actually have some human in them right now. And it's going to be interesting to see if they can bounce back now because I think that's 2 straight losses. And for the Vikings, I mean, luck or not, they just find ways to win. And in the NFL, it does come down to a little bit of luck. I mean, they've had the ball roll their way in a lot of these close games. And, I mean, hey, that's how you got to win in the NFL sometimes. So, I mean, it's just awesome for the Vikings. They continue just to play amazing. And, I mean, honestly, the vision's probably theirs at this point. I mean, the Packers game, which I'll get into a little bit, I mean, they have a little bit of life now, but I think that's the Vikings' division to lose. Chiefs-Jaguars, I mean, there's not too much to talk about in this game. I got close for like half a second, but then the Chiefs put it back away. Kelsey had a touchdown. I think Valdez-Scantling had a touchdown. Kadarius Toney had his touchdown in the first time with that. His first touchdown, I think in the NFL even. And he had it with the Chiefs. I mean, he had a really, really good day, and he's going to start to look like he's going to be an awesome gadget guy for them just to throw in here and there. When it comes to Jags, Christian Kirk had both their touchdowns. Lawrence showed some promise. I mean, it was just like overall, I mean, coming into the game, most people thought the Chiefs were going to win. I think the spread was like 9.5 or 9. Chiefs covered. So, I mean, it was just a good Chiefs win at home. They got business handled and done. I'm going to save the Colts game for last because there's some interesting points after that. The Cardinals, Rams, I mean, not too much to talk about. There's both backups playing. And Colt McCoy looked like he was definitely better than John Wolford. He looked like he's been there a little bit more because, I mean, they just felt like the Cardinals put together drives a lot smoother than the Rams did. And there's Connor had 2 touchdowns for the Cardinals. They absolutely beat the Rams, both these teams. It's very confusing what these teams are now at this point. I think it's very clear to say that I was way wrong about the Rams. I had them potentially being my back-to-back Super Bowl picks because I assumed they'd make a move for another receiver at the deadline. And then now, too, with all the injuries and everything, my Super Bowl pick was way off this year for the Rams. I thought they might have a chance to go back-to-back and repeat, and I would say their season's almost all but over, especially now with the news of Cooper Kupp. I was looking at my Slack group chat with Phantom Sports Industries, and some of the people were talking about how basically how I think that Cooper Kupp might have potentially tore his ACL. Not for sure or not, obviously, because it's like a day after. But I haven't looked into what the injury is fully to either because it's just only Monday morning. Usually after recording it Tuesday, I probably would have known by now because they would have at least had a full day of news. But it being so far, I think, only like 10 o'clock Eastern Monday morning. There's not really much out. But it looked pretty bad for Cooper Kupp. And if he goes down, I mean, their season's all but over at that point. With all the injuries that team's had and everything, I mean, it's just very unfortunate for the Rams. It's just a bad luck for them, honestly. And, I mean, great. It's a good one for the Cardinals because now they have hopes a little bit alive in the division. But, I mean, that was a game where, not too much mattered. And this exciting game, the Cowboys were up at 14 at one point, and then the Packers came storming back to send it to OT. Then in OT, the Cowboys had the ball, they're able to get, I think, like 1 or 2 first downs, but can't get the third, and then they basically have to punt it away. And Aaron Rodgers comes back down the field and scores. But, I mean, big plays today, Aaron Rodgers was slinging the pill around a little bit. He looked like a little bit of old vintage Aaron Rodgers from last year, and then Christian Watson had 3 of them things that day, and I mean, I think that was his coming out party of the NFL, because I mean, like, holy cow. He looked, like, if he's able to do that, like, more consistently, I mean, he has some chance to be a legit receiver in this league, because I mean, he seriously, there's like 2 plays where I watched where he just absolutely burns the Cowboys coverage, and I mean, that's what the Packers, I think, that's something that I think Aaron Rodgers hasn't had. I don't want to say his whole career, obviously, because I haven't followed the Packers that long or much, but I mean, Christian Watson having the speed, that's something that's, like, dangerous to have because he was running past people. and running past safeties. And if the Packers have that now, if he can stay healthy and they have that, I mean, that just opens up the field so much more for Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. And, I mean, they had a decent day on the ground. It was a really impressive win by the Packers. And it's kind of concerning for the Cowboys. They were up 14. I mean, they should have been able to put that game away. I don't know what they did that allowed the Packers to get back into it. But the Packers, I mean, their season was going to be over if they don't win this game. So it's a huge win for them. Their season stays alive. They're hanging on to dear life right now. And, yeah, hopefully going forward it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Cowboys and Packers going forward, because this is games like this are like games that can alter seasons. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Packers can actually capitalize on this now and see what they can do. And for the Cowboys, they got to bounce back, especially with how good the Eagles have been looking. So when it comes to the final game of the day, Colts. When it comes to Colts Raiders, I mean, Jeff MF and Saturday, I mean, wow, he did it. I mean, that Colts team looked completely different than any other team I've seen this year. I mean, it's just the life was completely different. You saw either first or second drive, they get the ball. They stop the Raiders. I think it was first drive. They stop the Raiders punt, Colts go right down the field and score. And it's oh shit, did they actually just do that? And then they come right down the field again and score, and they go up 10-0. It's oh my gosh, the Colts might be back. And yes, I understand this is a 2-win Raider team or low-win Raider team, but I mean, people are quickly blowing that. That's something that made me a little bit mad on Twitter. People are oh, they beat the Raiders. He beat the Raiders. I mean, first off, that's an NFL team. That's an NFL team that pays guys millions of dollars to play. And not only that, that's a really talented NFL team. Yes, they lost Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow. Their defense isn't the best, but I mean, they still got guys out there who could make plays and everything. And Colts held Josh Jacobs low. I mean, I think Devontae Adams had a decent day, but I mean, they made a big play on him to end the game. But there was just the thing that I just saw on Twitter, everyone's trying to belittle Jeff Saturday and belittle this win, oh, it's just the Raiders, it was just this and that. I mean, this is an impressive win. This is a coach with no NFL head coaching experience, and he fixed the three things the Colts have been having issues with. They haven't been able to block very well. They blocked really well. They haven't been able to move the ball on offense. They've moved the ball on offense decently well, and they haven't been able to score points, and they put up 25. I mean, he completely this might only be a 1 week thing, and they could get beat the rest of the season. But I mean, from what I saw, that gave the Colts they have some life now. I mean, they look like a completely different team. Jonathan Taylor even busted a big run, and yes, the Raiders have been known to give that up, but the Colts haven't done that all year since week 1. And I don't even think week 1 Jonathan Taylor had a big run. I mean, this was just a great win for the Colts. And I mean, it was an awesome win for Jeff Saturday. And going forward, this could be good for player coaches just coming in now, because it's if he can scrap together a few more wins too, I mean, this could be a really impressive resume that he builds, and he could end up being the Colts coach long term. Because I mean, if you think about it, coaches should be able to, especially player coaches. I get you should be able to have experience in that, and you need coaching experience. But there's some people I feel you wouldn't need much coaching experience at all. For example, the Peyton Mannings, the Tom Bradys and stuff like that. Yes, they're gonna need yes, coaching experience would help and all that, but these are very elite players who played at some of the highest. They played at the highest level at some of the highest and most talented positions, and it just works out. Because basically for Jeff Saturday, he was a center, and being a center, you basically have to know what the quarterback's doing. You have to know what the whole line's doing. I mean, so he's not he might not have had a coaching experience, but he's no dummy at football. I mean, this guy gets football and all that, and it's just like I said, it's an awesome win for the Colts, because now they have potential. Because they're they lost to Tennessee and all that, but Tennessee finds a way to stumble at all this season or mess up. I mean, the Colts have a chance to snag a division spot potentially, but will that happen? Probably not, just the way the Titans have been playing. But this was a huge win by Jeff Saturday, and it gave the Colts so much promise going forward. Due to me being a week early too, I'll just bounce through the matchups real quick, just because we still have 2 games to go. Titans-Packers, that's going to be, now that the Packers won, that actually became a very interesting game. I bet you if Packers lose that game, Titans are favored by 1. So the Thursday night game is going to be interesting to see what the new life Packers look like. Chargers-Chiefs, they flex that to Sunday night. That should be hopefully another exciting game, because those two can score a lot of points, especially if Mike Williams or Keenan Allen come back. Eagles-Colts, I mean, I hate to be the realist Colts fan, but I think they're going to have a little bit of coming back down to earth against this Eagles team. But, I mean, the fact that there's still hope. I mean, the Eagles, it's really, really hard to go undefeated. So, every week for the Eagles is going to be a watch. It's going to be interesting. But will the Colts win? Probably not. But, I mean, hey, you never know. It's the NFL. Rams against Saints, that's a good little meh. Bears Falcons is meh, just based on like the way those two teams have felt now after last week. But I mean, Houston Texas Commanders still have to play obviously, so it's gonna be meh if I had to guess, because that's just kind of those three games right there are kind of like poop bowls. But I mean, it's good for teams' futures because I think between other than the Falcons, I think basically all those team seasons probably are over. So it's gonna be good to just see how they like for them to feel out the rest of the season, see how the competition goes. Jets Patriots should be an exciting one. Giants Lions might be high scoring. We'll have to see. I mean, Lions got a huge win last week, so that'll help them. Panthers Ravens, it should be a blowout based on like the spread. Broncos Raiders, it's going to be interesting just based on how those teams have been playing. Vikings Cowboys. The fact that Cowboys are favored there, I don't think that's right. I don't know how I feel about that. That's really interesting how the Cowboys are favored in that game. Steelers Bengals, that's going to be an exciting division matchup than the Browns and Bills. That shouldn't be too bad. And then Monday night we'll have the Cardinals 49ers, and that will be a different look after the 49ers, after the Cardinals just won. Your 1 seeds are the Chiefs and Eagles. Now the Chiefs moved up 1 spot after the Bills lost. So there's no change in the NFC. All the first 4 are the same. I mean, all those people won except for the Seahawks who lost to the Bucs. So that's interesting. And then if you go to the AFC, due to the Bills losing now, there's a little bit of a change. There's some mix-ups. It looks like basically like everyone moved except for the Jets, who stood at 5. But when it comes to the first 4, I mean, Chiefs are now number 1 after the Bills loss. Dolphins move up to 2 after their impressive win. Titans, after they win, move up 1 due to record. And then Ravens had a bye, so they kind of get punished and drop a little bit. But them and I think the Titans are basically, due to the tiebreaker, the Titans get it, obviously, but they and the Titans are basically tied. And then when it comes to the rest of the divisions, the Giants now, they're moving up to the number 5 spot. Cowboys, after their loss, dropped to 6. And the 49ers have no change. They just stay there. But now I think they're like a game. But now the 49ers are a game out of playing. They're a game away from the division now. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do against the Seahawks as it moves forward. And then when it comes to AFC, Jets, like I said, they stayed, they didn't move. Patriots now are in the picture after a Chargers loss. And the Jets are, they stay in their spots. So that's actually interesting. So due to like the way the games fell now, every team in the AFC East is in the playoffs. So we have 4 teams from the AFC East in the playoffs, and we have the other division winners. That's at the beginning of the season. I don't think anybody could have saw that coming. That is just crazy. It's kind of cool to see now, but I mean, there's no way that probably stays. But as for now, I mean, that's something interesting to look at. And then when it comes on your bubble teams, I would say the Colts on the AFC East and the Falcons, Cardinals, and the NFC. Those are about your cutoffs. Those are the teams where they're about a game or 2 out, so they still have a chance of where they can maybe make it or not. But like I said, with the Colts, I don't know. We'll have to see. The Falcons, they have the chance to division, so we'll have to see with them. Cardinals, I mean, they've had a shaky start to the season, so they're probably going to be a 7 seed at best. But I mean, so basically the teams with the realistic chances are the Chargers, Bengals right now, due to how close they are. And then on the other side, I mean, NFC seems wide open because I just looked at that now. All those teams have 4 wins, so yeah, when it comes to NFL, I mean, this is crazy. There's a lot of teams that are just right there, and now that we're about at the midway point, it's going to start looking like these teams are going to start taking over. We're going to start maybe seeing some teams pull away and other teams fall short. When it comes to Week 11 in college, we had some very interesting games, to say the least. Going to the college slate, USC blows out Colorado. No idea how close that game was. Notre Dame was up big at first against Navy, but Navy kind of backdoored to make it a little bit closer. Missouri, Tennessee was close till about until about like middle third, early fourth, and then Tennessee blew the doors open. Ohio State just absolutely blows out Indiana, but I don't think they covered, actually. I think they missed by 2. Purdue upset Illinois, so the Spoilermakers, I think now they're number 1 in their division at a 5-4 record, so very weird year for them, but I mean, they still have a chance to make the Big Ten title game, I believe. Vanderbilt, Kentucky. Vanderbilt upsets Kentucky. I think it's either 23 or 26. This is their first conference win in about 20-some games. And yeah, Kentucky just couldn't hang on to finish it out. LSU had a really good game against Arkansas, where it was very close with LSU pulling it out. Michigan blows out Nebraska. Alabama has a very close game with Ole Miss, but they're able to survive off a 4th down stop. Clemson beats Louisville. It wasn't that competitive. I think it was 31-10 at one point. Penn State shuts out Maryland. Boston College upsets NC State. I did not see this game, so I don't know how. I didn't even know this game happened, but I mean that's pretty bad for NC State. They're probably going to drop out. Good win for Boston College. UCF Tulane, that was another really good game. UCF is able to pull it out, and as Tulane made it close towards the end. Georgia absolutely beats Mississippi State. Washington upsets Oregon in what was a really awesome game and shootout. There were some big plays that were made on both sides, but Oregon was able to just come up short, and Washington was able to pull it out. Kansas State absolutely blew out Baylor. That game wasn't competitive. TCU with an amazing win over Texas. I mean, they were up. It was 17-3 with 4 minutes left in the game until until Max Duggan fumbled. Or did Max or Caleb? I think Max Duggan had fumbled the ball with 4 minutes left, and they ended up getting a late score that basically meant nothing. I mean, it obviously meant something for the game, but it was basically a blowout from TCU the whole game. They looked like a number 4 team and played really well. North Carolina squeezed it out past Wake, and it was really high scoring basically in the first half, and the second half the defense just kind of showed up a little bit. Florida State blows out Syracuse. Arizona upsets UCLA. That's a shocker. That was another game I missed. Utah beat Stanford. But going back to UCLA, I mean that's going to be a troubling loss for them. I mean that probably just killed any hopes they had of. I mean they might get a bowl game now, but that probably killed any hopes they had of playoffs. Going into Week 12, assuming so. These matchups are going to be obviously not the best accurate, or excuse me, they're going to be the most accurate because obviously I'm doing this a day early before they come out with the rankings. But as you can see, Tulane SMU will be one. Navy goes to UCF, who's probably going to go up some. TCU Baylor might be an interesting game. Baylor's been playing kind of bad. Yeah, I mean honestly, looking across the board, USC UCLA would have been a great matchup if UCLA was able to win. Now it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, it still probably will be, but now they won't be as ranked as high, so it won't look as good for ranked matchups. And then, Oregon, Utah looks like it'll be the other one as well. But, yeah, going into next week, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see, because obviously, as you see this now, this is going to change a little bit for the ranked games. So, very interested to see what teams drop out and what other teams get added in. But, yeah, that's basically going into the week for this week. Like I said, for Commanders Eagle game, I'll talk about it on my picks episode. But, yeah, this was honestly a great weekend of football. A lot of surprising games again, and hopefully we just keep getting, because honestly nothing, I mean, as much as I'm a fan, even if my team loses as a fan, but they get beat by obviously as a fan, if I'm a fan of for example the Bills and my team lose, I'd be pretty upset and pissed. But I mean, for the aspect as a football fan, I mean games like that are awesome to see, oh really any team can truly win. So hopefully there's another exciting week of football for us coming up next week.